Indie comics are a space that we talk a lot about on this channel. And today we are joined by the president of one of the best indie comics publishers out there today, someone who we have been graced with the presence of on this channel, thankfully, a few times, more than a few times at this point, someone who I feel glad to call a friend of ours. We are joined by a Wave Blue World's Tyler Chin Tanner. Tyler, it's great to have you on with us.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you so much. Yes, please consider us good friends. Happy to come on anytime.
Well, it's always a pleasure because, New York Comic Con, right? It'll roll around and
Hmm.
everybody's super busy. And you in particular will be super busy because you've got so many creators you're looking to chat with and,
Hmm.
businessy things, but also things for yourself. But every single year, you manage to find us and always take a moment to say hey, and we catch
Hmm.
up. So I'm super appreciative for that. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I see you guys walking around with the mic, interviewing people and everything, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go talk to the comic pals. So my pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. So A Wave Blue World
Hmm.
is a small publisher, indie publisher,
Yeah.
that publishes an array of different books. I personally remember reading and enjoying your book, Mezo. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
One of the things I love about the bend of A Wave Blue World is that you guys publish, you're not afraid to publish comics that, I mean, quite frankly, I think we need more of, and that a lot of publishers feel a little bit shaky about. You'll publish
Hmm.
comics for the LGBT community, which I think, quite frankly, we need a lot more of.
Yeah.
Is that a concerted effort,
Hmm.
or is it coming from a space of we take what feels like a good fit?
Both. And that's the
Okay.
thing, that's a great thing about being a small publisher where you don't have to publish too much. It's like you don't take something just because of what box it fits, or like, I'm not picking up every LGBTQ project they can find, and not picking something up just because of the ethnicities or whatever. But I'm always looking for good content, first and foremost. And as you said, we're not afraid to publish that, or we're not. I feel like it's more like we're not trying to measure the temperature of the industry about whether it's safe to do something or not. I'm just not worried about that. So that makes this a little bit more available. I mean, I think just recently I've had even more of it because of other companies that are folding, or some of them are almost feeling like there's almost this feeling like the DEI is over or something.
Yeah.
And there's even more coming to me, and I'm just like, oh man, I can't publish everything. Like, I'm supportive of your projects. So yeah, it's a concerted effort to sort of level the playing field. If there's not enough of this material out there, and the creators who are doing it are good at what they do, they're not just looking to get in because of their um whatever it is, their marginalized community that they're part of, but they're just creators telling a good story. That's what we want to do. I mean, you look at Young Men in Love, what didn't win the GLAAD Media Award and the Ringo Award just because of what it was. It was a fantastic book. And being and someone who's straight myself was able to read it and just be like, these are some great coming of age stories, and good romance stories. So I enjoyed it. So yeah, to answer your question, it has to tick all the boxes.
And I think there's a kind of a vacuum for that too, especially romance stories in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like romance stories are prevalent in manga and other
Yeah.
forms of comics, but you don't really see too much in the big two, even like the image side of things. Romance is
Mm-hmm.
there's a fervor for it that I don't think has been tapped yet. So I think
Mm.
kind of Young Men in Love really kind of tackles that as well, even outside of like the LGBTQ part of it.
Right. Yeah. No, I,
Romance is
I think
dead,
it,
Tyler.
Well, I'm
what's
not talking
that?
about my own life.
So one of the things that I think about a lot is, and Tyler, the other Tyler, excuse me, was just alluding to
Mm-hmm.
the way that we have lost genre in
Mm-hmm.
comics.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're starting to see a resurgence of that. There's horror that's on the rise again,
Mm-hmm.
which we've been loving. But there is also that romance piece. And
Right.
so A Wave Blue World sits in a space where you guys are kind of giving people what you can't get anywhere else. What I think maybe some of the other companies are starting to realize is that if you build it, they really will come. Like
Hmm.
if you offer a great product,
Yeah.
people of all flavors will check it out.
Hmm.
Good is good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we found with that project for sure. It just had a sort of broad appeal, you know. It was a little focused in what it was and what the stories were, but so many people, you know, from all walks of life really enjoyed it. And yeah, I don't think there are enough romance comics. I mean, we did one that was you know, queer focused, but you know, there should be more. We should see more of just. I don't think you should make like a specific straight one per se, but like I'd like to see the next step of this is just mixing them all together. Like let's just do some more romance regardless of, you know, your orientation. You know, maybe that's next.
Exactly. Exactly. Frankly, I want to see mixed genre. Let's get some romance and horror. Let's do
Right.
that.
Yeah, and the second Young Men in Love, there was actually a couple of horror stories, which I thought was great to have.
That's
You
awesome.
know,
That's
some in
awesome.
there. Yeah, there's too many like cutesy ones, and it's like, no, let's get a scary one where they're running
Yeah.
for their life. Yeah.
Love is scary.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Now, as the president of A Wave Blue World,
Hmm.
you mentioned it earlier. You're not Marvel, you're not DC. You don't have to publish 62 comics a month or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So you have to be a little more selective. What makes a project that fits A Wave Blue World?
You know, there's not an exact description that I can give you. I mean, I go with I know it when I see it. It has to feel like original, like this project is the only one of its kind of thing. Not that it might not fit with other things, but you're like, oh wow, this sort of needs to be out there. And yeah, so it's not, and we do sort of tend to bounce around in the different genres, and we've done fantasy and sci-fi and romance and things like that. So I know we don't have like a set genres that we stick to, but it's because I'm just looking for something that's unique and really jumps off the page as wow, this is something new. This is something only these creators could make. You don't see something quite like that. And it's difficult when I pitch it to the book distribution, and we can get into that later since I might not be working with them anymore, but they're always like, give us comp titles. Which one, how do we measure the sales of this based off of this one? And I'm just like, man, there are no I mean, Young Men in Love, I'm like Heartstopper, I guess. Mezo, I'm like, um, you know, Elfquest or something. I don't know. You know, like there, I try to do things that there aren't other ones like it. So, um, yeah, just some fresh, original, sharp storytelling. That's what I look for.
I love that because again, a lot of times in the industry, it feels to me like, oh, that's the new hot thing. Who's doing that? You know,
Hmm.
who's doing that? Let's snap them up. Let's do the clone thing, right?
Right, right, right.
And there are a lot of great books that fit that mold, and that's
Yeah.
fine. But I like the fact that I'm on your page, I'm on a Wave Blue World website right now, and I know that Mezo is a very different book than Crash and Troy,
Yeah.
which is a very different book than Young Men in Love.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm very picky too, and I want to know the full story. You know, I'm sorry if someone's pitching to me, and I'm just like, no, I need to know the whole thing. I need to see a good amount of the artwork because I don't just want the pitch, right? Or just don't want the cover image or the, you know, this or that. Like, what's the full story? This has to be worth reading, you know, from start to finish if we put it out. Because I don't want to just put something out that just, you know, pitches well, or you know, you can give the log line to, but you know, when you read it, I don't know. I'm not trying to trash any comics, but sometimes as you read something, you're like, oh, the concept sounds interesting, and then you read it, and you're like, it didn't really follow through. I mean, I'm not trying to. There's plenty of great comics out there, but sometimes you're like, yeah, that one got published just because the pitch sounded good.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
easy to pitch something that's, oh, it's the X-Men meets John Wick. But
Yeah,
those are two things that already exist. So of course that's an easy pitch. What's
yeah,
the story?
yeah. No, exactly. And it has to be. We're a story first, you know.
I think the concerted effort to avoid the superheroics, I think, is also probably, beneficial.
Mhm.
If you're trying to get that, there's so many places to get it, and so many places that Not that the individuals making them aren't talented, but places you can do that better and get better stories that are already integrated into these worlds without
Mm.
having to do the legwork of introducing you to characters. So I think that a lot of publishers, especially smaller indie publishers, can kind of fall into that trap. Oh, it works here for Marvel, for DC. We can replicate that here, build our own universe, and it can sometimes fall flat.
Right. Yeah, no, I just steered clear from superheroes. Nothing like against them. It just, if other publishers, if I see something and it looks like it should be at another publisher, I'll probably just say, you should go to them, even if they're not accepting you. I'll be like, still, it seems more like them than me. So, yeah, I love superhero. I read a lot of them as a kid. I still stay, in touch with them. Um, but yeah, like you said, there's just so many of them that until that, if that ever dies down, which it doesn't look like it will, I just don't see too much need to do more and more of it.
That's fair.
Yeah, yeah.
We got a super chat already pretty early in the game. Hayden's Hideout with the $5. Thank you so much, Hayden. What are some of the challenges you face when publishing a comic that people might not think of? Registering your copyright, marketing, etc.
So I'm sorry, can you go over that again? So doing a
Sure. The challenges you face when publishing a comic that people might not think about. So the unconventional
oh
problems you face.
yeah, well, one of the first things that you do when you sell a book or distribute a book is like, where do I put this? You can't, if they don't know how to categorize it. Sometimes that can be difficult for sales, bookstores, things like that. They always want you to like tell them exactly, all right, what's the comp title? Where do I put this next to? Where do I put this in? And it's like they want you to just follow the same pattern and put it in the same category. And I'm like, I'm trying to do something different here, which I think readers respond to. But in order to get to the readers, sometimes you have to get through the distributor, through the book buyers, through the bookstores, and they do everything by the categories that they can put it in. Which is why I love to do like Kickstarter campaigns or direct to consumer, because if you can put that content directly in front of them and they respond. And I think that's why a lot of Kickstarter campaigns have succeeded and have become very popular, even though they had a tough time selling it at first. It's, the more original you are. So yeah, it's a challenge, and I get it. And even with readers themselves, you have people that just have established themselves. Oh, I like this genre, or I'm a fan of this, so I just want more of that. And you're trying to be like, well, try something new. If they're just like, well, I don't know that I like it. I haven't tried that flavor yet. So it can be tough. It can be tough. Also, when I'm trying new things myself, then I haven't really established a reputation. If somebody knows me, like I know for a little while I was doing horror and people started like knowing me for horror. And I'm like, well, I like to do a horror here and then, but I want to keep moving around myself. And then people don't really know what to make out of the publisher, until I think you get big enough that you're like, we just are somebody who does any genre. So yeah, challenges for sure. You don't quite realize that too. And when people pitch me something too, I'm like, man, this is going to be this is cool. It's unique. Maybe you should do your own Kickstarter. So.
How do you typically take pitches? Is it just like in person at cons, or just connections you make through shops?
Yeah, a lot of it are like the people that have done like anthologies with me or that I've been next to at conventions. I generally don't, like I have on my website that I don't accept submissions because one, I mean, I'm already booked out for 2027. So if somebody I don't even know sends me something and I'm just like, do you want this to come out in 2028? Or, that'd be like, because, we are so small, but then it just becomes like such a mess. And if I don't know these people and like, I have to like decide, if I can publish there's just so many unknown factors. Like I'm not big enough that I'm just looking to fill the catalog here with this stuff, right? So yeah, I like to build the relationships first. So yeah, that's generally how I do it. People that I've worked with before, people who've been in anthologies, maybe a connection, somebody, a creator that I've worked with here knows this person really well and can give them a recommendation. Because it's tough when you don't know. You can say you want an egalitarian system of just, it shouldn't be who you know, and that is true. But if somebody is an unknown quantity, if they don't have a lot of experience under their belt, you really don't know what you're going to deal with once you get into a working relationship. And I'm talking about, do they respond to emails? Do they know how to set up the files correctly? Do they, you know, there's so many things you're like, oh, this person has no idea what they're doing, or they're not following a deadline and things like that. So yeah, to just like get people who pitch something online, it's like it's just too many factors. So I try to steer away from that.
Yeah, you're just mitigating risk at that point. You know,
Hmm.
you want to just make sure that, yeah, I think to that point of making the connection,
Hmm.
it can be somebody that's trusted and they get sent over to you and through somebody vouching on their behalf. But I think that even works the other way where, because of that, somebody can pass you along to another person, be like, hey, I think this person has a really good pitch, should be with you versus, you know, them coming to you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Now, Tyler, you are actually the perfect guest. Sorry, other Tyler.
Oh,
I'm getting used to it. Yeah.
You're the perfect person to be here right now because on my mind a lot lately has been all of the distribution changes
hmm.
that the industry's been going through. And I feel like post COVID, it's been change after change after change. So I would love to hear from you, as comfortable as you are, to speak about this subject of how diamond faltering and the rise of these different distribution options and
Hmm.
everything that's been going on, how does that affect you as a small publisher, and what are your sort of observations about the state of comics in that regard?
Yeah, it's been quite an ordeal for sure. And all small publishers that were sort of stuck with Diamond. Um, and I think a lot of us were hoping that they would continue to exist even with new ownership, and we still don't know that for sure. But it's been such a long waiting game, and there are things that you can do to prepare yourself. Like, I really was started leaning into like I'm going to lean more into crowdfunding, and I'm going to open up the store in Brooklyn and have like a space and do a lot more direct to consumer and even direct to retailer, that kind of thing. But I think what we've got is like Diamond. So all the big companies. So the problem was with all the big companies leaving Diamond, and DC jumped to Lunar, and um, Marvel went to Penguin Random House, and then the other bigger publishers. Is the big publishers left, so they were left with all the smaller publishers, and then that's all of us still just around, like the ones that don't publish a whole lot, don't have a whole lot of volume. So not only was that not a good business model for Diamond, like they couldn't sustain themselves, especially since they were so big, but the companies that bought them probably are looking at like, why do we want to get into the distribution game with lots of small companies, because that's a lot of work, because you have to work with all these different accounts, but they don't do a lot of product, they don't do a lot of sales. So there's a bit of a vacuum right now where who's going to distribute these small publishers, and a lot of them are pivoting to doing crowd funding, or these small distros are popping up. But the concern would be there's so many of them that is each store going to have 8 different accounts now? So um, it really would have been nice if there was one. I was like, okay, so there's Lunar and there are a couple of companies. There's Penguin Random House and they have Boom and Marvel and things like that. It would be great if there was just this third, so that retailers didn't have to have more than 3, main comic book ones, that was willing to take all the little ones and deal with them. But that just hasn't risen yet. I mean, we can see what kind of comes out of that. So I'm just sort of preparing myself to just keep doing the books, keep building my own audience, Kickstarters, newsletters, social media, in person at conventions, at the stores, and just hoping, open myself up to opportunities. I'm watching, but I haven't really pounced on anything yet. Still wondering exactly how Diamond is going to dissolve, because I think they are. I think it's just a question of time. Um, they are still like soliciting things, but I don't know the confidence that stores have. So,
Right.
you know, that's the thing. So it's a bit of a waiting game right now. But I knew that going into 2025, and I was like, well, listen, I already kickstarted Young Men in Love New Romance, and that's coming out for Pride season, which it did. And then I'll try one more Kickstarter campaign for Mezo Volume 3, which I launched today. Even though my life is crazy. And I just sort of hit launch and ran to the store in Brooklyn to renovate and this and that. but I just wanted to be able to get that out this year and not delay that any longer. So a couple funding campaigns this year, and a new store, and then we'll see what happens in 2026.
You see, and I think that your perspective on that is very important for people to hear, because you have always been, as far back as I can remember us talking, somebody who was ready to kind of pivot, but also hit the ground.
Mhm.
Whether it's be at a convention, whether it's do the Kickstarter, do the hard work. And I think that there may not be that not every publisher right now
Mhm.
has that same mentality necessarily.
Right.
Is that something that you are observing at all?
I think we're going to find out, what happened, because Diamond is still sort of hanging on. And I know there's a few of us that are um, just waiting to see their final end. What will they do when they no longer have that? Will they just be like, well, that's it for me, or will they just stick more to conventions or crowdfunding? I don't know. I think there's going to be a little bit of um, culling of the herd, so to speak. Hopefully more of their own choice. Like, this is a tough business, you know. So it's like sometimes, one more straw, and people are like, oh, that's good. I'm gonna go work a day job, or some other passion of mine. Um, but I don't know. I think we're gonna see. I think there's gonna be a lot we're gonna find out this year and into next. But yeah, I would imagine there'll be some changes. There'll definitely be some disappearing acts. I mean, we've seen it even the last couple of years. There've been some small publishers that like, oh, I guess they're not around anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a Wave Blue World in particular has been a bit more ready to pivot? And the reason why is I feel like I remember in previous conversations, the way that your business model operates is you need to have everything already produced and done and ready because it gets, and correct me if I'm wrong, you provide in advance to then produce X number of issues, which then can also be collected so that you can release uh, single issues and or collections.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely love to do as much in the can before making plans to put something out. Yeah, I like to sort of, I mean, I don't take one project at a time, but on sort of the conveyor belt, I do sort of one at a time. So one might be like really early in development. One might be just humming along with the art and everything. And then the other one's getting packaged up, and we're marketing that and things like that. So I do like to have things very organized and as much ahead of time as possible. Um, I've been moving away from doing the single issues in print just because, that the sales have been really tough with this distribution going the way that it is. So I think we might pivot to just doing the books.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that if something we couldn't do like digital issues, for people
For
who
sure.
enjoy that, like 5 issues digitally and more of the book. But yeah, I'm not gonna, at least not in the current state. I'm not gonna do single issue series, limited series,
And
you know.
I feel like that puts you guys in a better position to do a Kickstarter
Mhm.
because you guys have so much ahead, so much planned out, so much kind of ready. Where the disadvantage for a lot of indies, for a lot of Kickstarters in general, is the fact that sometimes they haven't started the book or they're like only halfway or a quarter of the way, and so you end up running into delays. You end up running
Mhm.
into issues with production. And you mentioned that your goal was to get um, this next book out in time for Pride, and
Yeah.
you met that goal. Just hearing that alone, I think,
Mhm.
shows the level of professionalism and readiness that you guys have in order to
Mhm.
be able to produce these things, even on a Kickstarter.
Right. Yeah, and it's not easy, especially with an anthology and so many different ones. And you make your deadlines early, and you see who follows them, and then you see who follows the next one, and then you see, and it gets lesser and lesser, and you feel bad for the ones who actually like hustled to meet that first deadline. Like for Young Men in Love, I remember I was like December 10th, thinking like, let's see who turns it in by December 10th, and some people did, and then the other people, you're like, okay, January 1st, right? And then you see you turned it in January 1st, and you're like, all right, almost there. And
Yeah.
and then you get down to the last couple of people who are just like, to just get this in, so we can put it out. But you can build the rest of the book around it and just
Yeah.
stick those pages in at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Worst case, they're in black and white. Like,
yeah,
Yeah, artistic types are
Yeah.
like, it's like herding cats sometimes, especially if when you're on the managerial side of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the anthology side. And then with Mezo, we actually did have a little, which I don't like to do, is when you have to delay something, because I was volume 3 and I really wanted to get it out there. Like I felt like we were having some good momentum, but the artists started getting some other jobs, so we took one break. And I was like, okay, and now let's put it out now. And so I started gearing up again, and maybe it was a little bit too much just because I was excited because of the delay. And then he got another gig and we ended up delaying it again. And so I was like, okay, this time I'm going to wait till you're done. And just got the last 2 issues of volume 3 to do. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to do a kick. I haven't, like, I said it'll be in November or whatever, but it's not like I'm soliciting yet for orders. But yeah, so it happens. It does, even with the best intentions and the most organized that you can be. I mean, people, so many different creators, and they all have lives going on, and other opportunities. So you just do the best that you can. But I've always learned, always give yourself more time. You think you're giving yourself a lot of time, give yourself some more. Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure that we talk about the Kickstarter that is
Yeah.
happening right now, that launched today, Mezo Volume 1 through 3. You can get
Right.
Volume 3 if you want to, just that alone if you're caught up. But you can actually get all 3 volumes through this. And what I love about this, and this is something that I don't always see Kickstarters do, that you guys are doing here, is that the price for digital is actually very affordable.
Oh,
You
good.
can get all 3 volumes of Mezo, which I have read the first 2. They're awesome. You can get all 3 plus a process book for $20.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
Is it?
I think
feel
I
like
think
it's good.
that's a fantastic price.
Yeah. No, I want my Kickstarters to be good deals. I mean, even prints. We're doing 160-page books here, so it's not like, I know some Kickstarters are like 60 pages for $20 or something like that. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I have to be like, oh man, I want to support this project, but that's not a great price point. But I understand. So yeah, I'm trying to make it the best value. I want these things to be appealing. I want there to be a reason that people jump on them and feel like they're getting a good deal, and not just like handing over money as just because I need to make my dream project or whatever. No, I want the consumers to want this. I'm doing this for them, hopefully.
Yeah, this is a very exciting. I didn't even know that this Kickstarter was coming. I remember reading the first 2, and over the years as we've spoken, I've gotten to check them out, and it's great stuff. So if you guys are Mezzo's an interesting book because it takes place in the past, but it has these sort of mystical elements to it as well. The art is always tremendous. I was looking at some of the pages you have here, the art samples for Volume 3, and they look amazing.
Yeah. It's a gorgeous book. Val is a great artist. Gab Contreras is great colorist. They're a great mix. Really glad to have them working together again. And yeah, I just think it's a great concept. I had wanted to do a fantasy series, but a lot of fantasy ends up looking the same, having the same creatures, same people, the elf, the dwarf, the things like that. And it's very sort of Anglo-Saxon based. And so when the artist suggested doing like more of a Mesoamerican, Aztec, Mayan, because he wanted to draw that kind of stuff, and I thought that was just a fantastic idea. Got to researching it. Such a rich world. I mean, the history is a little hard to track down just because of the conquistadors of the time, and a lot of stuff got destroyed, and they're only just excavating some of the finds, the archaeological finds, and learning the hieroglyphics of it and stuff. But man, yeah, I just felt like there needed to be something like this out in the world, and that's why we're up to Volume 3, and this sort of completes the trilogy. I'm calling it my initial trilogy because even though we are bringing it to like a good, satisfying like ends, a lot of the storylines come together. It's not like the complete ending, I want it to continue after that. So hopefully it gets that perfect balance of people feeling like, oh, they read the 3 volumes, that was a really satisfying chunk, but I hope they do more in the future, sort of like the Star Wars, when you're like, love that trilogy, love to see another one, that kind of thing. So
Totally. And it sounds
yeah.
like you've got some ideas cooking if things go the right way.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I brought on Jared Lujan, the Crash and Troy
Yes.
writer and Twin Blades, to write volume 3 with me. And man, I already had sort of had an outline of where I wanted volume 3 to go and sort of bring things to a natural end. And when he got in there, he's like, no, we got to do this and we got to do this. And I'm like, Jared, you're making this like a brand new volume 1. Like we have to end it, like tell these storylines first. Then we can do that later, hopefully. And it's like, okay. So I got him to wait. And so he's already like planning. He wants to do a Fagor spin-off book and do this one for the next volume. And so I was like, no, that's great. I love the excitement. That's why I brought him on. But it was important to me that, because I had plotted this out from the beginning, and like, let's sort of finish these storylines, see these, these things come to a head, these characters finish off these things, just so it's not like one of those things where it's like goes on and on and on, and you're still waiting for the storyline to conclude. And it's a rich enough world that like, you can leave some things like continuing, but also have the storylines that finish too, just so people don't have to remember all these things. Like I'm so happy when I hear people read it and they're like keeping, because there's so many different characters and worlds of it. We try to streamline it as best we can. And no, I'm just so passionate about this. It's one of these projects that it doesn't even feel like it's like I love it because it's mine. I mean, I know I got it started and I got the ball rolling, but I just want to see this exist, whether I'm intimately involved or not. It's tough for me to pull away. I've been trying to do that with Jerry because I want him to sort of take it. But luckily he's good at that, and I see his passion in it too. So I'm letting him run with some things more and more. But man, no, I just love this project. So I'm hoping more people will discover it through Kickstarter, at conventions, at Heroes Con this week. I just keep pushing it every chance that I get, because I think people will really like it. I think it's just a question of spreading the word.
Yeah, we'll definitely throw the Kickstarter link it's already in the chat, but I'll throw it in the description of the episode too.
Awesome.
How do you balance this? Like, how do you balance the president and the publisher along with the creative side of things?
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot of plates spinning. Yeah.
Ideally I would have been a lot more involved, doing a lot more creative projects, but I got so caught up in the publishing side of things, which I do love. And obviously I chose, like, I shouldn't have gone down this path if I didn't want to do, but I do love it. And I do, it suits me well, because I really get into this side of things. I love the business. I love production, because I just grew up in the medium and just love being part of the whole industry. I'm not one of those, I just want to lock myself in my studio and just draw all day or write all day. And like, I do like to take some time and do that, and not enough. I don't get to do it enough. So to answer your question, I don't balance it. I do. I mean, I guess I do, but it just feels like I'm constantly juggling, which can be fun, but also a little stressful too, where you're like, man. And that's exactly why I brought on Jared, because that allows me to stay connected, but it isn't all on me, So
I'll never forget. We've actually brought it up after the fact, but we had you on the show once, and Marco, I know you'll remember this. You laid out your whole day,
Yeah.
from the beginning of the day to the end of the day,
Oh,
and
yeah.
with your kids, with getting them to school, with
Mhm.
when you first sit down and draw, on every single step of the way. And I was exhausted and tired listening to you tell it.
Yeah. No, it's very sort of structured, and like, you just have to keep changing hats each day, and because that's better than trying to do it all at once, right? So even if I only get 2 hours to write, and then I just have to stop and just do that the next day, because if I don't, then I'll never get these emails done, or somebody's waiting for some files to be turned in, or a press release or something. Like, you have things that are like day-to-day deadlines, and then you have the things that if I don't keep working on them consistently every day, then it will never get done, or it will eventually be late, kind of thing. So yeah, I've done my best. I've read books about planning your day and organizing, and they teach you how to do like the 10-minute projects and this, like, I forget the name of the books now, but they're out there. You know how to read. They're like self-help books, and they teach you how to organize and create lists for yourself, and pieces of paper, and write down like, what can I do in 5 minutes and do this, and that kind of thing, and know when your time in your day is where you do all the quick things and just get them done, So, yeah, and it's crazy. And it was crazy to do it at home, which is why I'm looking forward to going into the store, even though that's taking on another project now, opening up an art store. I do like the idea of just when I go into work, work all day long. I'll have like a nice long day, but then when I come home, then I can just be home, because that's the tough part about it, is like when you're not present with your kids, or you're just not even having some downtime, right? I just need that separation. So I'm at work or I'm at home kind of thing. So yeah, moving towards doing more of that for sure.
And I think that's the other thing too that people might not think about, and that goes for that it would go for you if you weren't the president and you were just a creator at a Wave Blue World, but the family aspect.
Yeah.
You have a family, you're a dedicated, family man, husband, father, and so that is also a major priority in your life that requires your attention, just like being a creator does. And then you add on to being the president of the company, having to make sure, the tea's delivered on time. Like there's so many things that are on your plate. I got to tell you, you look great, because you I don't see all the grays. I don't see it in your face. All the
They're
stress.
coming a little, but yeah. Man, well, I mean, it helps that I love all those things. I mean, everything you listed, I just love. It's just the fact that I just love too many things. But you'd rather be doing that than there's not really, anything that I like have to do that I can't stand doing. I mean, there are things you have to do, but it's all, working towards a goal that I'm excited about. So, and that includes like the kids at home too. Like I can't get enough of any of that. So it keeps me excited. Every night I'm ready to go to bed, and every morning I'm ready to get out of bed. So I think that's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, were you gonna jump in there?
I was just going to say, and all of that is better than standing still.
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
Just get some rest once in a while, but
a little bit of sleep, more than 6 hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
Drink some water every now and then.
Oh, I've been trying. I mean, as I get older, I'm like the food choices, and it's because when you're short on time, you tend to eat the crap or the quick snacks, but that will take away your energy. So I've been doing my best: buy the vegetables, buy the healthy food, the pure food from the farmers market. Keep myself fueled up properly during the day. It makes a difference. It makes it when you're younger, you can get by on just eating like whatever, but that's one of the things as I get older, like I'm having to prioritize better, get my sleep, eat well, stay busy.
You heard it here first, kids. You want to make comics, eat your veggies.
Yeah. I mean, you just you want to keep at it long enough. Yeah, for sure. You have to.
Don't worry, Marco, your turn's coming.
We'll try. We'll get there.
I want to remind everybody, Mezo Volume 1 through 3 are available right now on Kickstarter. Back this project because you like small independent creators and you want to support that. Back this project if you like fantasy epics. Look at that. Tyler showing them off there.
You're the first two that are done.
Those are awesome. Those are great covers.
Oh, and then this. So I found a couple of these. So this is the comic book that we did. I should have taken it out of the bag. This is a Mike Choi cover that we did for New York Comic Con 2019. We did a print run of 200 of those, and I found 16 of them. So 16 of them left. So I put those up as like a special award. There's a collector's pack and an add-on. So yeah.
Your the process book. That's part of is that process for the whole project, or is it just the latest volume?
Yeah, it's specifically for volume 3 because I feel like we have done a good amount of process along the way for volume 2. Like if you get these books, you'll find it in the back matter here and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see. I might, put some of that in just in case this is the first thing that somebody's seen. But we've been doing a lot of world building for volume 3. I know it sounds weird to say it for volume 3, but like I really wanted to make sure we were getting the cities and the buildings right. And I'm like, because all of this is coming down to a head, right? And I just want to make sure that like we've been staying consistent. And so yeah, a lot of like really cool stuff that we've been going back and forth on, and we've had some extra time with this one. It's been a couple of years leading up to this, so some of that time when we've had breaks, it's been all right, let's look into this a little bit more. And I like literally went through and drew a map of Metzalpotek, the city, and being like, all right, we had lots of scenes in here, where is this in relationship to this? Because when we get to the final scene here with a volcanic eruption, they need to be running through this area and this area, and I want to be consistent. I don't want somebody who's read it and be like, no, that doesn't make sense, they wouldn't have gone in that direction. Things like that, which you don't want to slow down the story with it with too much maps and world building, but you want it to be effortless when you tell it. So that means we need to know where everything is, so that when it's a quick scene and people are running through, maybe people would notice, maybe they wouldn't, but like if there was this pyramid in the background last time we were here, it shouldn't be a different arrangement, this time,
Right. Right.
So, and I think it's really neat. I think people enjoy seeing it. So I was like, let's make a process book. Let's make it exclusive to this campaign, just to have something special. And so, yeah, I think the people jump on this, they'll get something that they wouldn't normally get sent to them as part of that cool deal. Well, you get it whether you back it digitally or in print. You'll still get the digital sent to you.
And I think that's really cool too. Like if you back this project at the base level, the bare minimum of what you can walk away with is the digital volume 3 and the process book, and you're getting that for $12. You really like. I defy you to show me the Kickstarter in the comic space that is giving you that kind of value. And it's no shade to any other Kickstarter. I just think that Tyler Chinchana and A Wave Blue World are doing it right. They're doing it in a way that makes you feel like you're getting bang for your buck.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and hopefully they'll get all 3 volumes too, which is a good volume, because I want them to start with one. And yeah, I'm really excited to have the three books out, because it's like you make the first one and you're excited about it, but you're just like, oh, wait till you see where this is going. And then we had the middle one, the battle, the Koban Rock, which was a big battle scene, and that was fun. But I'm just like, oh, just wait till you see where this thing goes. So yeah, I'm just excited for people to read all three volumes. I think they're going to like it, and it's a good amount of content too. Each one's 150 plus pages, so that's 450 plus. Story, great art. I think it's going to be a really nice piece of storytelling when it's finished.
Each volume is 150 pages.
Yeah. So 450.
Oh,
so the trilogy would be 450.
I thought you said earlier that it was in total it was 150 pages. Each book is 150.
No, yeah. Each one.
Yeah.
Volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3 is going to be the same. So yeah, it's going to be about 450. Yeah, so I think that trilogy is going to be a nice chunk. Yeah.
And it's a very fun story. The first 2, I can't speak to the third one, but I definitely want to check it out. But the first 2 are very, very fun stories. And the other thing too, that I thought was interesting is that if you're into history, or if you're curious about some history, you can get some of that too in there. You can get some of that the Mayan history in there. So even if you just like that visual aesthetic, you're getting that. So I think it looks the part, and then the writing is excellent. You really can't go wrong.
Yeah. I put these in the back because it is a fantasy series. So these are, let me get this. I did like historical notes, back here, where it's like, well, this is the research I did, and I didn't want to bore you by slowing down the story too much by getting into great detail, but you saw this scene or what they were doing. Well, here's the research that it came from. So if you like to read that kind of stuff, I put them in the back of each volume.
That's awesome.
You'd mentioned that Jared is going to be taking over, or is contributing more so. And that there's a bit of letting go that has to happen. You have to kind of relinquish some of that. Do you feel like there are moments where, as a creator, you can be precious about certain things, and then that becomes kind of like maybe a more difficult conversation to be like, hey, actually, I like this versus this?
Yeah, no, we definitely had that with volume 3 for sure. I didn't even quite realize, learn some things about myself, because, well, I had set up the plot and sort of where it was going, and I was like, Jared, can you like, finish this off for me. And he was really excited and really amped and loved what I was doing. And he did stay true to it in a sense, but just it wasn't so much the new ideas he was coming up with. It was sort of the things that, like, I don't want to say dropped, but like, I was wanted to see through. And so I realized it was this third volume. It was a weird transition, I guess, because it's the end of a trilogy, which is why I'm looking forward to doing more with him, which I think will be easier for me to be like, okay, well, here's how I set things up, but do all the things that you were excited to do. So I think a lot of it was just that this was volume 3, and I wanted to bring him on this one so that he was part of this one. But it was probably the toughest to be like, yeah, but let's still make it end the way I wanted it to end.
I like this thing, this moment to come before this. And
yeah. So, but yeah, no, we've been great in the process. He's great. I thought I would enjoy working with him, and I really did. And it was funny, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it might be, or the challenges did arise, but that just proved that we really do have a great working relationship, because we were able to come, see eye to eye on it and be like, okay, we may not like agree, or we may have different ideas, but we were able to work together with it and both be happy. Like, he didn't mind that I was like, no, still do this, and I didn't mind that he wanted to do those things. It was just about getting it all to mesh together. So it was a great experience. I look forward to doing more of it, even though I'll be a little less hands-on about it. Hopefully. You go, Jared. You do it.
I can only imagine what it's like to have done, so much of that and the initial ideation on Mezzo, and then have, someone come on and look at what you've done from a creator standpoint and kind of say, oh, and then their mind starts to kind of run wild with it. Like, that is that has to be a crazy experience.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I loved it with working with the artists. I mean, when you work with an artist, they have their own ideas too. And especially something like this, when we were creating the project, it was an interesting thing, because I would come up with an idea for a character, but then the character design would be like really different than what I thought. And then I started changing the history of this character based off of what I was seeing. And so there was a lot of that too. So it's sort of an extension of that, now that a writer's coming in and reacting to what I've created with the characters, but seeing things a little bit differently. It's sort of another version of that as well. And I just try to keep myself open to it and enjoy the process. Yeah, that's the fun part about comics, because it is an assembly line. You're all working together. It's sort of like a band in that way. Like, you have your separate instruments, but you have to all be in melody together. So no, it's interesting for sure. It's a new experience for me, just in this. Like, I've co-written something with my wife before, but that's been like, we're in the same house together and from the same thing from the beginning, where this is a little bit more of a baton handing off type of thing. And I have to be able to let go a little bit. And it's for the best of the series. Like, I honestly say, and that's why I don't mind it. Like, as much as I may have seen some things, I know that he's building off of it here too. And that's what I want. What's best for the series, what's best for the readers.
And he's talented in his own right, and I definitely think he's a name to watch as far as the future of his career.
Yeah, no, I'm going to keep on working too. I mean, it was stepped away this past year because he had a lot of family stuff to deal with, and it's good and it's healthy to step away for a little bit. But I just keep bugging him a little bit, and I'm just like, not just I'm going to make you keep working on Mezo, but what else you got going on there? Don't drop anything. I mean, so yeah, no, super talented, and want to see him stay in the business.
Me too. We got a question from Hayden's Hideout, who wanted to know, do you see a world where the smaller indie companies go digital only for the monthly issues, then release collected editions in the physical format once enough issues are out or the series has ended?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great model. I hope people like that, because that's what we're leaning towards doing. A couple of the series that we have coming out next year is going to be exactly that. We'll release the 5 digital issues. They'll have to be all ready, so they'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the book will come right out afterwards. So if people like to read it that way, because it is fun to read serialized comics and get something, but the business side of it, it's just so tough with the margins and the sales. And there's just so much stuff on the rack these days. There has been for so long that yeah, I think it's okay that if we go a little digital a little bit. I know it's sad not to see your first issue out, or this and that, but I think it's the way to go, especially for small publishers. To like just get it out digitally, get a book out, right? That's just a really good model. That's what I love doing. It's what I did with Mezo, because I did try the whole premiere edition thing. We just did like the #1 because it was out digitally. So I was like, oh, let's do a #1, and that went directly into the volume 1. And people had a hard time with that because they're like, well, you did do a #1, but you didn't do the rest. And I was like, I know, because they don't sell very well. But they didn't like that.
Drop
So I
off
was
is
like,
harsh.
yeah. But I had the book come out right away, and that's why I did these special variant covers and the character designs in the back, because I wanted to make it special. Like, it's not just a #1; it's almost like a preview, prelude, and then the digital issues came out right away, and then the book came out right away. So I thought it was a good model, but it was just too confusing. I think people were like, "Well, where's #2?" I'm like, "Well, you can either read it digitally or get the book." And it didn't make sense to people. So we kind of scrapped that program and are just going to do either just the book or digital to a book.
I think that makes the most sense, and I feel like you have to cater towards what like the people are familiar with, and at that point, where the Wednesday Warrior exists, right? They're used to the floppy, they're used to the single issue. They're gonna go into the shop on a weekly basis and have an expectation. And on the other hand, a trade waiter is gonna exist in the same breath, right? So, I guess until that changes and that person is trained to expect that, then because I would have agreed. I thought that was a good idea, and I've always appreciated that you guys do different things with the model. So
it can be tough to experiment with things because it's almost like we were too small, I think, to establish a new business model like that, right? Because if we were just doing that like twice a year, nobody's going to get used to a new model just because a small press publisher is doing two times a year, so yeah, I couldn't make that sea change myself.
I've got a question about Kickstarter, and in particular, one of the things that I've noticed over the last few years is big name creators or publishers utilizing Kickstarter to get certain projects off the ground.
Right.
That sometimes people criticize them for because they feel like they could just put the book in a store and people would receive it just the same.
Yeah.
Where do you land on that?
I understand why they do it, because it's just a great resource. I mean, I did my first Kickstarter, how many, like 15, 16 years ago?
Wow.
And I didn't know where. I was like, oh, this is a weird, interesting thing. It probably would be like a fad, or I thought people might get tired of it. People love it. It's such a great model. I think people like being involved in the project. I mean, so much of it is being like there from the beginning, sort of the beginning. I mean, quote beginning. Seeing it develop, getting it sent directly, getting emails from the creator, sending you the digital stuff, giving you updates, sending the book directly to your house, and not all these people go to comic shops or have a comic book shop near them. So they like the direct order to the mail. And then, you get them on your newsletter and you start building these relationships. So I just think the model is really good. Whether you're a big publisher or a small one, you're just like, why would we not use one of the biggest, most effective resources in the comic book industry? And I know as a small publisher, a small creator, you don't want them in the space because it feels like they've already taken over the comic shop and the entire racks and things like that. So I get it, but to me, I feel like it's something that's just, it's here to stay. It's big enough, it doesn't have to get in your way. It doesn't have to squish you, because you still are who you are. And the fact that it's legitimizing this business, that it's not just about begging for money or asking for a handout or whatever. You're like, no, I'm just making a comic book and here's a good deal. And here's a way for you to get involved in it. And the same thing you would do in a comic shop. You should also support small people as well. Get the big stuff, read the superheroes or the, big publishers, and read the small publishers. So that's the way I look at it. Yeah.
There's almost like an equivalency to had they not had those bigger players, bigger name creators, etc., not entered the field,
Yeah.
let's say you did publish your book and it went in through distribution, it's on the stands now. The environment of competition still exists, so that
Yeah.
means that model of, well, I have to go pick up whatever I'm going to go pick up, I think exists there as well. And if
Yeah.
anything, I would say the difference between a Kickstarter and um, uh, before I uh, but before I had more obligations from like a financial perspective. I
Yeah.
used to participate in a lot more Kickstarters. I used to, that was the goal for me was maybe I couldn't go to an SPX where I could find all these indies. Maybe I couldn't go to across the country to find
Mm.
other independent creators, and so that was my way to test out different books, different types of
Yeah.
genres, different types of indie work, because that's what I was there for. So I'm not there necessarily for, maybe I might, maybe I not, but AWA I know has had some stuff. Mark Miller more recently has
Hmm.
come out with some things. So like, there's definitely a threshold there, and I think people tend to lean more towards independent anyway on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
If anything, the bigger names are just leveraging the platform as
Right.
well. To your point.
Yeah. No, I think they're just bringing in an audience. Like that doesn't come from nothing. If they launch and get 1,000 backers right away or something like that, it's because they have those people following them and they're saying, look, let's use Kickstarter. So they're around. So you may not see like an immediate, like, well, now I'm getting thousands of backers because they all came to Kickstarter or whatever, right? But it's just not how it works. You still have the ability to run your own campaign and to build your own audience.
I have always been of the mind that a rising tide raises all boats,
Right.
and
Hmm.
that a lot of times that can be an opportunity, and it's all
Yeah.
about perspective. And I appreciate your perspective, where it's like, hey, they're doing their thing, I'm doing my thing.
Right.
Personally, I have literally only ever backed Kickstarter projects that I personally believed in.
Hmm.
I'll never back. Well, look, I shouldn't say never. I have never had a desire to back, say, a Boom. Yeah, I don't want to name publishers, but like they're good.
Yeah.
They're good. I can get that if I want to get that. If
Hmm.
I want to get Mezo, this is how I can get it.
Yeah.
And doing it like this can help show the world and help support directly small creators who could really use our help.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. So that's why I'm kind of, we're doing it sort of both. Like, obviously, we did do the first 2 volumes sort of on our own when our distribution was a little bit stronger. But I'm doing it as much as, like, this seems to be the best way to get it to its audience, as much as anything else. So, yeah, I'm hoping people back it because they just see it. They're like, oh, this looks awesome. I want to read this.
Well, that's why I'm going to back it, because I enjoyed the first two. I'm sure I'll enjoy the third. I think you're a great guy. I think A Wave Blue World has a mission that I really believe in, which is putting out the best comics possible. And so I put my money where my mouth is. So I'm about to get my credit card and get this done, because I need that print edition volume 3 in my hands.
Nice. Cool. We will get it to you. And you will love it. Trust me. You love the first two, you'll love the third even more. I mean, that's just something I know from having created it, that we're like, we really hit our stride with this third volume. I'm
And
super excited about it.
once we get it in the mail, we'll swing by. We'll get that signed. We know where you are now, Tyler.
Yeah, you know
We'll
how to
swing by,
find
say
me.
hi.
Come
Yeah.
on in. I want people to visit me. I gotta get the store up and running. But once I do, I'll just be sitting there working away. Come in, distract me a little bit, hang out. I built an art bar, which I'm super excited about.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. No, I want people to come in and sit down. I have tables and chairs to like try things out, and a bar for people to sit up there. Yeah. Sorry you guys can't make the opening event on the 26th. We record on that night, but yeah, we'll do other events, and like I said, we'll be open during regular business hours too. So
Well, we actually have a fair amount of New York listeners.
mhm.
So please tell us the location, because I would love to support. I know Marco wants to go, and maybe some of our listeners will want to check it out.
Yeah. So it's in downtown Brooklyn on J Street, 351 J Street. Um, it still has a WC art on it. That was the original name. So my wife's parents opened it over 50 years ago, ran it as an art store. There's a lot of colleges in the area, Pratt, NYU has a campus. Selling more traditional art supplies, that got tough because of everybody buying online, but they stayed in business up until the pandemic, and they sort of used that as an excuse to retire, but they didn't want to give up the space, and they couldn't just leave it empty. So we're like, we should do it and turn it more into like a community comic art independent publishing resource center. And so we cleared it out, we redesigned it. I'm putting some tables, some the bar. I want to have just some samples out there, let people come in and really get back this tactile nature of art, and trying things out and feeling them, because if you just put everything in a package on a rack, that's more reason to just buy it online, right? But if you can kind of come in and sit down and feel, and I can talk to you about it and do some demos and try things out, or just hang out and talk comics, because there isn't enough spaces to do that in person. Like, we do so much of it online, which is great too. But the same reason why I love conventions, even though it was expensive and a lot of traveling, I'm basically like, people come to me, I'll be at the store, come visit, and I want to see people in person, and do some drawing and you put some pen on paper, that kind of thing. I think it'll be neat. I'm excited for it. But renovations have been tough. I've been going in every day. That's where I was today, just working away, setting it up, screwing in chairs and tables, and trying to get it set up. And we're having an event on June 26th. Sorry if I entered before getting to the event. June 26th at 6 p.m. If you go to AWBW Wave Blue World online, I posted a poster for it, so you'll have the address and the date and time, the 26th. It's a release party for young men in love, so there'll be some creators there. We're showing people the space. If you're in the area, please come by.
MX Mothman in the chat says, jealous that New York gets all the cool stuff. Well, listen, we get all the cool stuff, but there's also a lot of other things that happen in New York. I have just backed the project. I am very happy to be able to say that. And I am saying to you, the listening audience, if you would like to check out Mezo, this is the best way to do it. You can get all 3 volumes right now. If you've never read it before, this is an epic opportunity to just, boom, drop a little bit of money relative to the amount of content that you're getting and get all 3 volumes through this Kickstarter. Support a great company. And again, the most important thing is great comics, and this is great comics.
So, thank you.
Absolutely. Go out and get that. Tyler, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Where can people find you, and what do you want to leave the listening audience with?
Well, awbw.com, even though I have a crazy long Wave Blue World name of the publisher, at least my URL is just the 4 letters. I'm on social media, both Tyler Chintanner and A Wave Blue World. What do I want to leave people with? I don't know. I hopefully feel positive about the comic industry, because the people are great. You guys are great. So many great creators out there doing positive things. So we'll get through all this turmoil, and I think we can build a better world, through art and comics. So let's just stick together and do our best.
It's a beautiful message, and one that I feel very good about ending on. Listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will be live with you again on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Pals